The sun blazed down over the sprawling luxury resort, its rays reflecting off the pristine water of the infinity pool, surrounded by towering palms. It was everything Lisa had dreamed of, a vacation spot where the rich and famous could escape the stresses of life. The exclusive resort promised tranquility, indulgence, and the kind of elegance that only a select few ever experienced. But it wasn't the perfect day she had envisioned. In fact, it was turning out to be the worst day of her life. Lisa stood just inside the massive marble-floored lobby, her fingers gripping her purse with white knuckles, her breath shallow. The air smelled of fresh flowers, mixed with the faint scent of expensive perfumes. Everything around her was flawless, from the crystal chandelier that shimmered overhead to the polished silver vases that lined the walls. Yet, in that moment, Lisa felt a deep, suffocating unease. She could feel the eyes of the other guests on her, their gazes sharp, curious, and judgmental. There was no mistaking it. She was the center of attention, but it was not in the way she had ever imagined. The security guard, a tall, stern man in a crisp uniform, stood between her and the door. His face was stoic, and his eyes, hard as stone. "I'm going to need you to leave the property immediately," he said in a tone that left no room for negotiation. Lisa blinked, her heart skipping a beat. Her pulse raced as she stared at him, trying to process what he was saying. "What? What do you mean, leave?" Her voice trembled, but she tried to steady herself. "I'm a guest here. I've been here multiple times before. This isn't possible." The security guard didn't respond. Instead, he motioned for a second officer to step forward, his eyes unwavering. "I'm sorry, ma'am," the second guard said, his voice more apologetic but equally firm. "There's nothing we can do. You're not allowed to stay." Lisa's mind was reeling. Not allowed to stay? How could this be happening? She was a regular at this exclusive resort. Her husband, Ethan, had booked their stay months ago. They had spent weekends here before, enjoying the privacy, the quiet luxury. They had always been welcomed with open arms. But today was different. She opened her mouth to argue, but the words got caught in her throat. The weight of the situation crushed her. What was going on? I don't understand. What have I done? She asked, her voice barely more than a whisper, filled with confusion and panic. Her stomach twisted into knots. The first guard remained silent, his expression unreadable, but his body language was telling, he was not going to budge. "You need to leave now," he repeated. Lisa glanced around the room, hoping someone, anyone, would step in to help. But the other guests were avoiding her gaze. Some pretended to check their phones, others flipped through the glossy magazines placed on the tables. No one was coming to her aid. "I'll call my husband," Lisa said, her voice shaky but determined. She fumbled for her phone in her purse. She wasn't going to let this happen. Ethan would fix this. He always did. He was a billionaire, a man who could get things done, who could make problems disappear with the click of his fingers. As she dialed his number, she could feel the burning stares from the people around her. They were judging her, but she couldn't focus on that. She needed Ethan. He would make it right. The phone rang once, twice, 3 times. Then, finally, his voice came through, calm but distant. "Lisa, what's wrong?" "Ethan, they're kicking me out," she blurted, her voice cracking. "They said I'm not allowed to stay here. I don't understand. Please, help me." There was a long pause on the other end of the line. She could hear Ethan's breathing, soft but tense. "I'll be there in a minute. Stay where you are. Don't move," he replied, the authority in his voice unmistakable. Lisa clutched her phone, staring at it as if it held the answers to everything. Ethan was coming. Everything would be okay. Ethan would make everything okay. But when she looked back at the security guard, she saw the same cold expression on his face. He didn't look concerned or apologetic. He looked as if he was waiting for something. Her mind raced. Why was Ethan's reaction so calm? Why hadn't he asked her what had happened? Why had he not come rushing to her side the moment he heard what was going on? Minutes passed, each second dragging like an eternity. Lisa could hear the gentle buzz of the ceiling fans and the faint sound of water trickling from a nearby fountain. But none of it could calm her nerves. She was in the middle of a nightmare, and she couldn't wake up. When Ethan finally arrived, he was the picture of composure, as always. His tailored suit was flawless, his hair perfectly in place, his eyes shaded behind expensive sunglasses. He walked with the kind of confidence that turned heads, but today, his presence did not reassure Lisa. It did the opposite. There was a coldness about him now. A distance that made her feel small and insignificant. "Ethan, what is going on?" Lisa asked, her voice filled with a mix of fear and disbelief. He didn't look at her right away. Instead, he turned to the hotel manager, who was waiting nearby, his hands clasped in front of him. "I want her gone," Ethan said flatly. His tone was so cold, so impersonal, it sent a chill down Lisa's spine. "Escort her out." "What?" Lisa gasped, her voice breaking. "Ethan, please. What is happening? What did I do?" But her husband didn't answer. He didn't even look at her. His eyes were focused on the manager, the one person who seemed to matter at that moment. "I said, escort her out," Ethan repeated, his voice growing harder. The manager, a middle-aged man in a neatly pressed uniform, didn't hesitate. He motioned to the security officers, who immediately began gathering Lisa's things, all without a word of apology or explanation. Lisa could feel her heart pounding in her chest as she stood frozen, watching the scene unfold before her. This wasn't the man she married. This wasn't the husband she knew, the one who had always been there to protect her, to take care of her. Ethan was acting like a stranger. She reached out, grabbing his arm. "Ethan, please, what is going on? Why are you doing this?" He pulled away from her touch, his eyes finally meeting hers. There was no warmth in his gaze. No love. Only cold indifference. "Lisa, I'm sorry," he said, but his voice lacked sincerity. "You need to go. Now." Tears welled in her eyes, but she fought them back. She couldn't cry in front of him. She couldn't show weakness. "I'll explain everything later. Just trust me," he added, his words quick and dismissive. Lisa stared at him, her mind racing, trying to make sense of what was happening. What had changed? What was he hiding? She could feel her legs giving way beneath her. This was too much. Ethan's voice, so detached and emotionless, cut through her like a knife. She wanted to scream, to demand an explanation, but she knew it wouldn't matter. Not anymore. Without another word, she was escorted from the resort, past the glistening pool, past the guests who now avoided her gaze. The whispers followed her like a shadow. When she was outside, standing in the parking lot, Lisa pulled out her phone and saw a message from Ethan. "I'll see you at home. We need to talk." The words didn't comfort her. They only filled her with dread. What did he mean by talk? What could he possibly say after everything that had just happened? Lisa knew that the life she once knew was slipping away, and she had no idea why. Lisa sat in the back of the taxi, her mind spinning. The luxury resort was now a distant memory, its towering gates nothing more than a fading image in the rearview mirror. The city's busy streets buzzed around her, but she was far removed from it all. It felt like she was living someone else's life, one she didn't recognize, one that no longer made sense. Her heart was still heavy, her thoughts still consumed by what had just happened. Ethan's coldness, the way he dismissed her, the way he acted like she was nothing more than a problem to be dealt with, it all felt so wrong. The woman who had loved him, the woman who had once found comfort in his arms, was gone. In her place was a stranger, a man who she didn't know anymore. When the taxi finally pulled up in front of their sprawling mansion, the gate opened with a slow, mechanical groan. Lisa stepped out, her legs shaky, and made her way to the front door. She couldn't shake the feeling of being followed, of being watched, even though she knew it was just her mind playing tricks on her. The door to the house opened, and Ethan stood there, tall and composed, waiting for her. He looked almost like a different person now, like the man who had once swept her off her feet. Had been replaced by someone cold, calculated, and distant. Lisa didn't speak right away. She simply walked past him, entering the house with a mix of confusion and dread. The scent of expensive wood, polished leather, and fresh flowers greeted her, but it all felt foreign now. Nothing in the house seemed familiar anymore. "Lisa," Ethan said, his voice low, but there was no trace of warmth. "We need to talk." She turned to face him, trying to hold her composure. The anger she felt boiled up inside of her, but she swallowed it down. This wasn't about anger. This was about something much deeper. This was about the truth, about understanding why everything had changed so drastically. "I don't understand," she said, her voice shaking. "Why did you do that? Why did you have me thrown out? Why didn't you tell me what was going on?" Ethan sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. He looked at her, his face unreadable, like he was studying her reaction. But there was no softness in his gaze, no hint of the man she had once known. He was distant, almost as if he was speaking to a stranger, not his wife. "It's complicated, Lisa," he finally said, his tone detached. "You wouldn't understand. It's for your own good." "For my own good," she repeated, her chest tightening. "What does that even mean, Ethan? I've been by your side for years. We've been through everything together. And now, you're telling me I wouldn't understand? That you're doing this for my own good?" He looked at her, but this time there was a flicker of something in his eyes. Guilt? Regret? Lisa couldn't tell. But it quickly disappeared, replaced by that same cold indifference. "I didn't want to do this, Lisa. But you're not safe anymore. It's better this way," he said, his voice barely above a whisper, like he was confessing a secret to her that he wasn't sure he wanted to reveal. Lisa's heart skipped a beat. Not safe? What was he talking about? "What do you mean, not safe?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Who's after me? What's going on, Ethan? You need to tell me the truth." He looked away, his jaw tightening. "I can't. Not yet. But you need to trust me. I'm doing this because I have no choice." The words hit her like a punch to the gut. No choice. It was as if the life she had built with him, the life they had shared, was a lie. She couldn't wrap her mind around it. She couldn't understand why Ethan, the man she had loved and trusted, would suddenly act like this. "I don't know who you are anymore," Lisa whispered, tears pricking the corners of her eyes. "You're not the man I married." Ethan's expression didn't change. He stepped closer, but Lisa backed away, her heart racing. She didn't want him near her. She didn't want his cold, calculating presence in her life anymore. "You don't understand," he said again, his voice strained. "I had to make some tough decisions. This is bigger than you think. It's not just about us anymore. There are forces at play that you can't even begin to comprehend." Lisa's mind reeled. Forces? What forces? Was he talking about business? Had something happened with his company? She didn't know what to believe anymore. The world she thought she knew seemed to be crumbling around her. "I don't care about your business or whatever forces you're talking about," she snapped, her anger rising. "I care about you, Ethan. I care about us. But you're shutting me out. You're pushing me away, and I don't know why. Ethan closed his eyes for a moment, as if gathering his thoughts. When he opened them, there was a faint glimmer of something, a hint of emotion that made Lisa's heart ache. But it was fleeting. I never wanted to hurt you, he said, his voice softer now. But I have to protect you. And if that means pushing you away for a while, then that's what I have to do. I'm sorry. Lisa stared at him, unable to comprehend the words. She wanted to scream, to demand answers, but instead, she felt like a helpless spectator in her own life. The person she had trusted most in the world was now the one who was tearing her apart. She shook her head, feeling the weight of the situation crashing down on her. I don't understand. I just don't understand, Ethan. You don't have to, he said, his voice hardening again. Just trust me. Stay here. Keep your distance from the people you know. Everything will make sense soon enough. Before she could respond, he turned and walked away, disappearing into the study. The door clicked shut behind him, leaving her standing there in the vast, empty hallway. The silence was deafening, and for the first time in years, Lisa felt completely alone. She sank down onto the nearest chair, her hands trembling as she tried to process what had just happened. What was he involved in? What had changed so drastically that he would act this way? She didn't know, but one thing was certain. Ethan was hiding something. And she needed to find out what it was. The next few days passed in a blur. Ethan remained distant, buried in his work, and Lisa felt the weight of his secrecy pressing down on her with every passing moment. The mansion, once a place of warmth and love, now felt cold and isolating. She wandered through the rooms, her footsteps echoing in the silence, but there was no comfort to be found. Her thoughts were consumed by one question: what was Ethan hiding? One night, unable to sleep, Lisa decided to do something she had never done before. She went to Ethan's study and slipped inside while he was away. The room was just as he had left it, neatly organized, with shelves of books and expensive decorations. But there, on the desk, was something that caught her eye, a folder, marked with a simple, yet ominous, label, Project X. Her heart skipped a beat as she reached for the folder. She could feel the weight of it in her hands, as if it were the key to unlocking everything that had happened. She opened it slowly, her fingers trembling as she flipped through the pages. What she found inside was nothing short of shocking. The papers were filled with complex diagrams, financial figures, and names that she didn't recognize. But one word stood out above the rest: dangerous. And beneath it, in bold letters, do not involve Lisa. Keep her in the dark at all costs. Lisa's stomach dropped. Her blood ran cold. Ethan had been keeping secrets from her, not just about their personal lives, but about something far bigger, something dangerous. As she sat there, staring at the documents in disbelief, she knew one thing for sure: Ethan's secrets were more dangerous than she could have ever imagined. And now, it was up to her to uncover the truth. The following days felt like a blur to Lisa. She couldn't shake the image of the folder she had found, the one that had shattered everything she thought she knew about Ethan. She thought she understood him, thought she had a clear picture of their life together. But now, that image was distorted, shattered like glass on a cold, hard floor. Dangerous. The word seemed to echo in her mind, bouncing off every surface, every thought, every memory. What did it mean? What had Ethan gotten himself into? The questions piled up with no answers, and each one seemed to lead deeper into a labyrinth of confusion. Lisa tried to confront Ethan several times over the past few days. She asked about the documents, about Project X, but each time he shut her down with a cold, vague response. "You're overthinking this, Lisa," he had said one evening as he poured himself a glass of wine. "You don't need to get involved in this. It's complicated." "I don't care how complicated it is," she had snapped, her voice trembling. "I want the truth, Ethan. You've been keeping something from me, and I deserve to know what it is. His eyes had hardened, the familiar warmth completely gone from his gaze. I'm doing this for you. It's for your own good. Trust me. But Lisa could no longer trust him. Not when every word he spoke seemed laced with secrecy. She couldn't let this go. She had to know what was happening, had to understand what was so dangerous that Ethan would lie to her, shut her out, and keep her in the dark. That night, as she lay in bed, the silence of the mansion pressing down on her, Lisa's mind raced. There had to be a way to get to the truth. Ethan was hiding something, but he wasn't the only one who knew about it. She needed to find someone who could help her unravel this mystery, someone who might know what was really going on. That's when she remembered Ava. Ava was a longtime friend of Ethan's, a woman who had worked closely with him for years on various business ventures. She was smart, resourceful, and had always seemed to be one of the few people who could get through to Ethan when he was being stubborn. If anyone knew what Ethan was up to, it was her. But would she help Lisa? Lisa didn't have time to second-guess herself. The need for answers outweighed everything else. She grabbed her phone, took a deep breath, and dialed Ava's number. The phone rang twice before Ava picked up. Her voice was soft, yet clear. Lisa? What's up? I need to talk to you, Lisa said, her voice low but urgent. It's important. Can we meet? There was a pause on the other end, then a hesitant response. I don't know, Lisa. Is everything okay? You sound off. It's Ethan, Lisa said quickly. There's something going on, and I think I'm in danger. I need your help. Ava hesitated again. Lisa, I don't know what's going on, but you know how Ethan is. If he's involved in something, it's bigger than you or me. I'm not sure I can help. You have to, Lisa said, her voice trembling now. Please, Ava. I don't know who else to turn to. I'm scared. A long silence followed. Then Ava sighed. Okay. Fine. I'll meet you. Same place as last time? Yes, Lisa said quickly. Thank you. She hung up the phone and sank back into the chair, feeling a brief flicker of hope. At least someone was willing to listen, even if she wasn't sure what she'd get from it. But she had no other choice. The mystery of Project X had consumed her, and she needed answers. The next morning, Lisa drove to the small cafe where she and Ava had met several times in the past. It was quiet, with only a few patrons scattered around, sipping their coffee in peace. The familiarity of the place did little to calm her nerves. She was about to dive deeper into a mystery she wasn't sure she could handle. When Ava walked in, Lisa stood up, immediately noticing the apprehensive look in her eyes. Ava was tall, with short dark hair and a sharp, professional demeanor. She looked around before spotting Lisa, and after a brief hesitation, walked over. Lisa, what's going on? Ava asked, sitting down across from her. You look like you're about to crack. What aren't you telling me? Lisa took a deep breath, her hands trembling slightly. She had to be careful, but she also couldn't hold back. She needed to lay it all out. I don't know how to explain this, Lisa started, her voice low. But I found something. Something that Ethan's been hiding. I don't know what it is, but it's big. And it's dangerous. Ava raised an eyebrow, clearly skeptical. What do you mean, dangerous? Lisa pulled out her phone, unlocking it and showing Ava the pictures of the documents she had taken from Ethan's study. The images were grainy but clear enough to make out the words and diagrams. Ava scanned them quickly, her face unreadable. Project X? Ava murmured under her breath. What the hell is this, Lisa? That's what I'm trying to figure out, Lisa replied, her voice barely a whisper. Ethan's involved in something. Something that he refuses to tell me about. He's keeping me in the dark, and now I think I'm in danger because of it. Ava's eyes flicked back to Lisa's phone, her expression hardening. This isn't just business, is it? This is bigger than that. Lisa nodded. Exactly. It's like he's involved in something much more than his usual work. But he won't tell me what it is. And I think he's doing it to protect me. But it doesn't feel like protection. It feels like I'm being kept in the dark, like he's pushing me away because he's scared of something. Ava leaned back in her chair, studying Lisa with an intensity that made her uneasy. You're right to be scared, Lisa. This isn't just a normal business project. This looks like a conspiracy. Whatever Ethan's wrapped up in, it's dangerous, and it's not just business as usual. Lisa's heart raced. So what should I do? Ava bit her lip, clearly deep in thought. I don't know. But I can help you dig into this. I know people who might have some answers, people who could find out more about Project X. But you need to be careful. If Ethan's involved in something like this, it could be far more dangerous than you realize. Lisa nodded, her mind swirling. I need to know what's going on. I can't just sit here and do nothing. Ava nodded, her expression softening slightly. We'll figure this out together. But you have to promise me something. What? You have to promise that you'll be careful, Ava said, her voice serious. Whatever this is, it's not just a little secret. Ethan's not just trying to protect you. He's hiding something from you, and it's not good. Lisa swallowed hard. I promise. Ava stood up, pulling out her phone. I'll make some calls. Let's see what we can find out about Project X. As Ava left the cafe, Lisa sat there, the weight of the situation bearing down on her. She had no idea what Ethan had gotten himself into, but one thing was clear, she was no longer a passive participant in her own life. The mystery was no longer just about Ethan, it was about her survival. And she wasn't going to let him, or anyone else, keep her in the dark any longer. Lisa sat in the dimly lit living room, the heavy weight of the last few days pressing on her chest. The room was eerily quiet, save for the occasional creak of the house settling. It was as if the entire mansion had turned into a mausoleum of secrets, suffocating her with its silence. Outside, the wind howled, a constant reminder that something far beyond her control was brewing. And yet, no matter how loud the storm outside raged, the storm inside Lisa's mind was far louder. She had spent the entire evening pacing, replaying every moment, every word exchanged with Ethan, every clue that had slowly unraveled itself over the past few days. But there was one thing she couldn't shake, the undeniable sense that the truth she was searching for was within arm's reach, if only she could find the courage to grab it. A knock on the door broke the tension. Lisa jumped slightly, her pulse quickening as she made her way to answer it. She opened the door to find Ava standing there, her expression grim. I have news, Ava said, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. Lisa closed the door behind her and led Ava to the living room, her stomach twisting with anxiety. What have you found? Do you know what Project X is? Ava pulled out a folder from her bag and placed it on the coffee table. It was thick, the paper inside heavy and well-worn. I've managed to dig up some information. Not everything, but enough to give you a clearer picture of what's really going on. Lisa's hands trembled as she reached for the folder. She flipped it open, her eyes scanning the pages. The documents were filled with diagrams, cryptic notes, and references to names Lisa didn't recognize. The more she read, the more her stomach churned. What she was looking at wasn't just business, it was something far more sinister. This isn't just a project. It's a full-scale operation, Ava explained, her voice low. Project X is connected to some high-level people, politicians, businessmen, even people in law enforcement. It's a network of corruption, bribery, and illegal activity. And Ethan, he's deeply involved. Lisa's heart dropped into her stomach. Ethan? How could he be involved in something like this? He's always been honest. He's always told me everything. Ava shook her head. This is bigger than you think. He's not just hiding things from you, he's protecting you from the truth. He's in too deep, and whatever he's doing, whatever he's involved in, it's dangerous. If these people find out that you know. Lisa cut her off, her voice rising with desperation. What are you saying, Ava? That my husband is part of a criminal network? That everything we've built together is a lie? Ava met her gaze, her eyes full of sympathy. I don't think Ethan is a bad person, Lisa. But he's in a position where he has no choice. Whatever he's done, whatever he's been forced into, he's been protecting you from it. But now you're part of the equation. Lisa's mind was spinning, trying to process the weight of what Ava had just said. She had always trusted Ethan with her life, with her heart. And now, everything she thought she knew about him was crumbling before her eyes. But even amidst the whirlwind of confusion, one thing was clear: Ethan had been keeping her in the dark for a reason. He was protecting her, or so she thought. She looked up at Ava, her face pale. What do we do now? How do we stop this? Ava sighed deeply, her face tense with concern. I don't know if there's a way to stop it. The people involved in Project X are powerful. They have connections, resources. It's not something you can just walk away from. If you expose them, you risk everything. Your life, Ethan's life, everything. Lisa stared at the folder in her hands, the realization sinking in. Her life had already changed. Irrevocably. The moment she uncovered the truth, there was no going back. But the question that haunted her was whether she could live with herself if she did nothing. I can't just pretend this isn't happening, Lisa said quietly. I need to know the truth, even if it means risking everything. If Ethan is really involved in something this dark, I need to help him. I need to help both of us. Ava seemed to weigh her words carefully before responding. Then you have to make a choice, Lisa. You can either keep digging, go deeper into this mess, and risk your safety, or you can leave. Walk away and try to forget what you've learned. Because once you go further down this path, there's no turning back. The words hung in the air, the weight of them suffocating Lisa. She felt as if the walls of the room were closing in around her, the magnitude of the decision bearing down on her shoulders. She looked at the folder in her hands again, her heart heavy with uncertainty. Do I have a choice, Ava? She whispered. I don't think I do. Ava didn't answer. Instead, she stood up and walked toward the door. Before she left, she turned back to Lisa with a soft, almost sad expression. Just, be careful, okay? If you decide to keep going, make sure you have a plan. You'll need it. Lisa nodded, too lost in her own thoughts to respond. She heard the door close behind Ava, but her mind was still spinning. The revelation about Ethan, about everything he had been hiding, felt like a blow to the chest. She had no idea how to move forward, but she couldn't just walk away. She had to find out the truth. No matter the cost. The following morning, Lisa woke up to an unsettling sense of urgency. She had barely slept the night before, her mind restless as the details of Project X played over and over in her head. What was it that Ethan was involved in? What could he have possibly gotten himself wrapped up in? And more importantly, what had it all meant for their future? She glanced at her phone, seeing a message from Ethan. It was brief, but his words cut through her like a knife. Where are you, Lisa? We need to talk. Lisa's fingers hovered over the screen. She knew what that message meant. Ethan had figured out that she was onto him. He knew she was getting closer to the truth. With a deep breath, she typed a response. I'll be home soon. We need to talk. The message sent, and Lisa felt the weight of the moment settle over her. This conversation could change everything. Ethan had been hiding the truth from her for so long, but now, the truth was about to come to light. There was no going back. Whatever happened next, she had to be ready. By the time Lisa arrived home, Ethan was already waiting for her in the living room. His expression was unreadable, a mask of calm that barely concealed the tension in his body. He stood up when she walked in, his eyes narrowing as he took in her appearance. She was pale, exhausted, but there was something in her gaze, a resolve that hadn't been there before. "We need to talk," Ethan said quietly, his voice tight with tension. "I know you've been looking into things, Lisa. I know you found out about Project X." Lisa swallowed hard, her heart pounding. She had no idea how to approach this, how to confront him. But she couldn't back down now. She had come this far. She had to know the truth. "Ethan, she began, but he cut her off. "Lisa, you don't understand," he said, his voice rising. "I didn't want you to get involved in this. I didn't want you to know the truth. It's too dangerous for you. You have no idea what you're dealing with." Lisa's eyes flashed with anger. "You don't get to decide what I can and can't handle. I deserve to know the truth, Ethan. About everything." For a moment, the room was silent. Ethan stared at her, his jaw clenched, his eyes filled with a mix of frustration and fear. Then, he sighed and dropped his head, as if the weight of the secret he had been carrying was too much to bear. "I never wanted this for you, Lisa," he said softly. "But now that you know, now that you're part of this, there's no turning back. Project X isn't just a project. It's a plan to change the world. And I'm at the center of it. But I can't let you be a part of it, Lisa. Not unless you're willing to risk everything." Lisa's heart pounded in her chest. The truth was finally out. Ethan was part of something huge, something dangerous. But what was she supposed to do with that knowledge? How could she live with it? As the silence stretched between them, Lisa knew that this moment would define the rest of her life.